Welcome, my friends, to the Quantum Shamans presented by Moshi, the Ministry of Shamanic Healing and Integration, bringing you insights into the spiritual secrets of the mind and the universe around you. We are here to help you on your spiritual journey and path of healing. And now your hosts, David and Anthony.
Welcome to Quantum Shamans presented by Moshi. I'm Anthony.
And I'm David.
And today we're here with one of my favoriteest people in the world. I call him the Wizard, Kurt Shaffer. Hi, Kurt.
Hi.
Hello, Anthony.
Pleasure to have you.
Hello, David. Thank you.
Hi.
I'm honored.
Thank you. Before we begin this podcast, this interview, David, could you please recite the Moshi vision statement?
Yes, absolutely. The Ministry of Shamanic Healing aims to help individuals heal from spiritual maladies stored as energy in the subconscious that manifest in the form of trauma, PTSD, physical illness, mental health issues, and addiction. These practices include, but are not limited to, yoga, breathwork, meditation and mindfulness practices, Reiki, sweat lodge ceremonies, sensory deprivation, sacred plants, and any other ritual healing we collectively decide to establish. We hold group ceremonies for our collective to heal together in a safe space, as well as individual ritual healing tailored to the members of our collective for the purpose of intensive inner work. Our most important responsibility is to help our members integrate their individual and collective experiences in order to ameliorate their spiritual maladies and spread love for the betterment of mankind. Our belief is that our collective consciousness is God. Every living organism has a purpose and is essential for homeostasis. From the single-cell organisms to the observable universe, we are all connected and equally important. We all deserve love, respect, peace, harmony, and forgiveness. Love is the most powerful force in the universe. Love conquers all.
Love conquers all. That's always my favorite end right there. I always love to listen to all the words of it and really just absorb them every time they come in. That's why I think it's important that we always start this podcast with that, stating what our vision is. What is it that we want to happen? And I think that's so cool.
I love it, and I agree with every single word.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Support.
Kurt Shaffer, you're a very talented photographer, and I've had the pleasure over the last 20 years or so to be in your presence and see some of your beauty in your work and how you capture nature and capture energy in your photographs. I really, really love them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's a high compliment.
Yeah, I love your work. I love it so much.
I'm very fortunate. I'm aware that this is a gift. As I'm largely self-taught, and it's always been my intention and desire to, well, for one, nature is my therapy. So why not have a camera and capture the beauty that I see and help show the world what they're missing if they're not already out with me. Mm-hmm. And we are nature, of course.
Yeah.
If you didn't know that. And our connection to nature is so important to keep and maintain. If you've ever been in nature, you know that you feel better. Your worries and your anxieties tend to diminish, unless, of course, mountain lions stalking you. But mm-hmm. Even then, you can coexist with all the dangers of nature. It's a vibration. It's an energy that we all learn as children. We're naturals. We don't learn any fears from bee stings until an adult tells us we should be afraid. Mm-hmm. That's the silly thing about humans.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I definitely would say that I sense that your photography is very much, to me, it connects to me in a very spiritual way, because just as you mentioned, it's energy, it's vibration. That's what I feel you're capturing. That's what photography and the beauty of photography is, that I didn't quite understand before pre-awakening, is that you're capturing this vibration. And the vibration isn't still. The photo may be still, but the vibration and some of the energies I've seen you capture and collect with them are very much moving and fluid. And I can look at some of your photos one time and look at them at another time, and it feels totally different to me. Like, so I've always been, that's why I call you the wizard.
That's pretty cool.
You're a wizard in every sense of the word to me. That's how it feels to me. And you've kind of been on a spiritual journey for a long time, you know, like, well, where did that start for you? Where did your connection to your spirit or to your higher mind, where did that begin for you? Where did that start?
Well, I could say that it began with my father taking me out in nature, and I just knew I liked it, but I really didn't get into, I call it metaphysics, until when late 80s, maybe 1990, when I had my first psychic reading, followed up by a astrological reading, and I wanted to compare the two, and they were both basically the same from two different people. And it's funny, you know, we all get into things. Universe has a way of pushing us towards something, and the way the universe does that is infinite. And for me, I was worried that too many people knew about my secret garden in my basement.
Yeah.
I was growing cannabis at the time, and literally I was worried, and I listened to a psychic on the radio on my way to work, and I go, man, I wonder if I book a reading, and, you know, if she sees, like, oh, I see jail or something, you know, back then you had a lot to lose. So that's totally why I got my first psychic reading. And then in the first 20 minutes, she blew my mind, telling me things she no way she could have known. And then she asked, "What's the big question?" And because on the radio, you know, she had said, sometimes I work with police or FBI on missing persons, I didn't feel comfortable divulging to her that I was doing something illegal, and I just wanted to check with you to see if, you know, I was going to be in trouble or not from it in the future, obviously. And so that, you know, I gave some kind of other answer, and, oh, I'm just curious, and she knew. So we went on. But she recommended a couple books for me. She thought I had, you know, very good intuitive capabilities, and I should develop those. And those two books did change my life. It was Living in the Light by Shakti Gawain, and Creative Visualization by her also. I read those two things. I bought them, and I read them front to back like I've never read a book before. And that just, from there, it was one connection after another. Teachers, more books, more study. And sure, psychedelics play a role in awakening subtle realities, subtle perceptions, our senses, our sensory, you know, connection with the universe, and all these combined. I mean, it is obviously my destiny. I mean, I don't know if everyone's destined to awaken consciously in this incarnation, in these bodies, but I know I was and am. And I'm very grateful. I've since then. I mean, the list is long for what I was doing. My thirst. I got to take seminars from every possible teacher and healer, doctor that was teaching crystal healing, therapeutic touch, which is energy work like polarity or Reiki. I was really into alternative healing and astrology. I pursued astrology because it was a tool to know myself better. I was really interested in knowing myself, self-realization, and knowing why I do the things I do, especially the shadow parts of me, and just wanting, you know, my father was a good role model in that making yourself better no matter how, just making yourself better, be a better person. So that was my path. They never really quite understood it, but they saw the positive changes in me, and they they let it happen. I mean, they didn't judge. They didn't try to push me one way or the other, their way. I was very blessed with the parents I grew up with, and for their support, unconditional. And I tested them a lot.
Yeah.
I did.
Good.
But and my time with a shaman, Michael Big Bear, he has since left the planet, but he was into breath work before I think it was a thing, and fire walks. And he would always do a breathwork session before his talk. The breathwork was a lot of, I experienced, Kundalini with other people, exorcisms. I mean, what breathwork can bring up, intense breathwork. And then on top of that, there's walking on hot coals afterwards, and so. Very transformative. I was his fire tender for a number of events here in Ohio and Michigan, Arizona, Atlanta, Georgia, and Birmingham, Alabama. Mm-hmm. We traveled a lot together, and that was some of the most awesome, spiritually amazing times of my life. Mm-hmm. And but also cold water therapy, sweat lodges, everything you talked about, I've done. Retreats and meditations in Mount Shasta, Northern California, Native American ceremonies. I was taken to a Sundance in Durango, Colorado, where as a white person I had to be invited by, this first psychic I saw, she was a Hopi medicine woman, and so she could get me in. This was a Southern Ute Sundance, and that was totally transformational. Just being in that energy. The drum, they had a drum that was as big as that pool table and had like a dozen guys around it. Indians.
Bong, 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 bong.
Oh, the heartbeat of the earth, amplified. But so, yes, it's and my journey's hardly over.
Right, just getting started.
You're actually my latest teacher.
Yeah,
Anthony.
How cool is that? We teach each other,
and it doesn't matter our age difference.
We're both eternal.
Mm-hmm. Never born and never die.
Yeah, we're both eternal. We just get to have these times to be Kurt and David and Anthony, which is really fun, by the way. I think that's really fun that we get to inhabit these bodies. Something that was sticking out to me about Big Bear and what you're mentioning about breath is, breath's amazing. It's an ancient human technology. It's been around forever, and all like
it's free and easy.
Yeah, like pretty much all spiritual ideas or teachings include some form of breathing. Even our ancient Peruvian tradition observes different. It just wasn't called breath work. It was called something else. And really understanding is to breathe is to inspire. Breath is spirit. Mm-hmm. You're willfully bringing spirit and energy, and that's how I usually use it in my teachings, and how I use it in my medicine way is to use it to bring in light, because I understand that everything's light and frequency, and just how Big Bear did. That's why he was doing that, and also the way it can, for the shaman, it's an indispensable tool because it helps us to alter state. Some shamans need to use some sort of, maybe a psychedelic compound or something, because even like ayahuasca is like heavily commercialized now, and people are going and using it. But in older times, it wasn't the people that used the ayahuasca, it was the shaman that used the ayahuasca to be able to access spiritual realms, to access higher states of consciousness. Mm-hmm. The cool part is now our nervous systems are evolved to a point where most humans, even with awakening, all humans have the ability to awaken. Not all of them are going to choose, because we didn't choose every incarnation either.
Right.
That's the thing. That's part of our learning, part of the cycle. But so breath is a beautiful thing. And when I hear about that, when I hear about like you experienced 30 years ago, I experienced breath work 30 years ago before Wim Hof showed up. Like I feel like Wim Hof has been a very major tool in helping this time understand the power of breathing, mostly because we live in a time of science. Everybody wants science. I need proof that it works.
Oh, yeah.
The proof is use it, and then you find out, right?
Hello.
But if you need proof, then you can go ahead and you can check out all of these studies that Wim Hof has done and many other scientists and things, and are still doing more testing because they're starting to find out that it opens up doorways, neurological doorways that there's no limit to.
Yeah.
I mean, abilities for us to heal and all kinds of things, stuff I don't even know yet. There's still so many things that are still capable to us that we can open up to.
Just raising your frequency.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it. You're changing, at least at any rate, you're changing, you're altering your frequency, and that's how we work in this place. Our vibration even brings our thoughts to us. Mm-hmm. Our thoughts are energy forms. How do they show up? Through our vibration. However you vibrate. So you're having a hard time. We were talking pre-camera about old ideas and things and getting caught in your pattern, getting caught in old cycles of behavior sometimes. And when that shows up and your consciousness stands up and says, hey, you're going down that same path again. Okay, what can I do? Well, the easiest thing is you to go into the answer that's directly, literally right under your nose. And after a while, you train yourself, and like a couple breaths can totally change your disposition. It can take you from feeling really heavy, really sad, really victimized, and can change you into a totally different person just in seconds.
But the important thing is catching yourself.
Yeah.
And then, even if you've made the mistake of getting into your old emotions of it's usually anger or something, and you catch yourself, and a lot of times when people are just learning these things, they beat themselves up. Why did I do that? I shouldn't have done that. But no, we need to congratulate yourselves and praise yourself for catching yourself.
Right.
And pretty soon it just becomes natural. It's just relearning a new habit because, how many decades have we been on this planet learning the opposite?
Yeah. Yeah, I have lots of clients and they do that. And that's something we talk to, and part of the integration process is when your consciousness begins to develop and you begin to catch yourself falling into patterns, just like you said, not being angry that I went into the pattern, being happy that I caught it. Yes. Because once you're aware, you're already free.
Yes.
After that, it's just allowing yourself to go through the story and being gentle with yourself. But I think that's just a normal part of healing and progression is first you start off, you're blind, then you start to see. And then when you start to see, that combines with old behaviors that are self-sabotaging or disempowering. Mm-hmm. And then that develops into, I see by me knowing I'm already free. Mm-hmm. And then I always tell people, well, listen, everything's okay and you can't mess up. No one can. And that's really hard for the ego mind to accept. Like, what do you mean no one can mess up? Yep, that's true.
We're our own worst critics. We judge ourselves more harshly than anyone else.
No doubt about it.
Yeah,
no doubt about it.
Our own reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what that's all about. So that's very interesting, though, like all of that information that has been brought into you. And that's something I really enjoy in our personal time together when we get together and have kind of like our wizard shaman get-togethers and things. How much information comes through your channel to me? How much comes through? It's always something. That's why I've always called you the wizard. You're the wizard. You have this wizardly energy that comes through you. And I deeply enjoy it. So where did photography, where did that start to open for you? Where did that happen?
Well, again, my dad gave me a camera when I was 13, and it was just a little cheap Kodak thing, but it took pictures, and it saved the memories that I thought I wanted to keep, and I've still got photographs of my trip with my grandmother, actually, to Yosemite National Park in California when I was 15. No, it was basically, I just had a desire to capture the beauty, mostly beauty. And if it was family functions, I was kind of the record keeper via photos. And so I'd be the one taking pictures of everybody. But it really wasn't until 1982 that I got my first serious camera, film, obviously, and it was really a hobby for myself. Some of the nature pictures I would enlarge and frame and put in the house. And then it just kept building from there. I started putting them in coffee shops or, little shows here and there. And it grew, and people asked me, could you photograph my event or something? And kind of snowballed. So, but it was just a supplement to the day job up until 2008, really. Long time, because photography is competitive. It's a little scary to also go as an entrepreneur by yourself in your own business when you've got a day job, nice, secure, regular paycheck,
comfort.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but of course that quickly, in time that becomes painfully aware that no, I've just got to do this and trust.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's a roller coaster. Whereas your bills aren't; they're they're standard every month, and so there's some months that are really good and some that aren't. Anybody in business for themselves will tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
But so yeah, there's a lot of ways I earn money from my photos, and the nature and landscape is, like I said, my therapy and probably my favorite. It's the most lasting contribution I can make to humanity, to society, is to sell a beautiful image that graces somebody's wall, mm-hmm. and that they can look at, and it makes them happy or feel good or something. And this concept and it's art therapy. It's been well researched. Not only doing art, engages the other hemisphere of your brain, and it can relax you and lower your blood pressure. These are all research studies that have been confirmed. Mm-hmm. And so it was, I quit a day job back in 1991, and I had an opportunity to go live with a friend in Manitou Springs, Colorado, which is at the base of Pikes Peak, about 6,000 feet. And Raymond and I did some traveling together up through the western states, and actually I didn't come back home for 11 months. Mm-hmm. That was, and sometimes I had $50 in my pocket, and I was traveling from, say, Atlanta to Sedona, and everything just worked out, though. Me and my dog, Domino. I had a Dalmatian at the time. So we, in my Honda Accord, did all this, but it was one trip that I made. Actually, I was coming back home from Arizona, and while driving, this flow of information came over me, and while I was driving all that way, I was writing the stream of consciousness, and it was my narrative to a slideshow that I had just created and was beginning to show some people that I called photo healing. And it's about 130-40 slides put to music, with nature sounds and things like that. And I had everything from flowers and rocks and trees and mountains to, abstracts and weather. I had a thunder sequence through my lightning shots. And my narrative suggested our connection with nature. At times it was informative, other times it was humorous and or poignant and poetic. And that was my gift to the world. And I ended up creating 12 years ago a email of it that I call Photo Healing. And it's actually my best, most interesting photos I take each month that I put into an email. And it's based on the premise that when we are in nature, the feeling of peace and calm overcomes us. And whether we realize it or not, stress and anxiety leaves our body. And So it's combining my love of everything: nature, photography, healing, and if there's anything else I missed, it's included.
No doubt.
But I do some of the commercial work as well. I'll shoot your wedding. I'll shoot your portrait. I'll photograph your product, your space for a realtor or a construction company, like I'm doing tomorrow. And, really anything that involves a camera, I love to do. If I shot weddings every week, I'd probably have more money, but I wouldn't be as happy.
Right. We were talking about that.
I love weddings, but to do them every week is a bit stressful. Because there's such
editing too.
An important day. Yeah,
A lot of work on the back end.
In the film days, it was pretty cut and dry, easy. You took a fraction of the photos I take now with digital, but now digital allows me to not really miss a moment. I don't have to change film, but the downside of it is the hours of editing afterwards, because I'll come home with 2,000 shots sometimes from a long wedding.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot of work.
But I enjoy, again, that is working with people and making them happy. I capture moments that a lot of people say, how did you do that? I mean, because I don't like to be seen. I don't like to be in your face, except I will change in the reception, the party atmosphere, and I'll add to the event, the wedding, by turning on my paparazzi mode. And I'll have lights flashing with every click of my camera everywhere.
I've been there. I've been in some of these photos.
And, yes, you have.
Yeah.
And so, I love just amplifying happiness and joy in any way I can.
Yeah. I believe that's part of your intuitive awareness is what it is. It's an intuition. You know how to kind of flow with the energy. That's how it's always felt to me when you'd show up, and next thing you know, I look over, there's Kurt, and there's a camera down here pointing up at you. Catches some really off-the-wall shot, but it turns out beautiful and perfect. It's some sort of awareness you have to feel. It's a feeling. I can feel how you feel through it. It's an amazing thing, really, to me.
And if it doesn't work, I delete it.
That's a cool part, right? That's the cool part. So you would say that I would think that from most of the photos I've seen of you, nature is probably your favorite thing to photograph.
Probably, yeah. But since we are nature,
yeah, humans and nature.
Humans are nature, so I do love that. I do get nervous still after all these years before an event. Especially a big important event, I'll get nervous as hell because I know what can go wrong, and I know that I put this own pressure on myself to do my best and to capture everything, and so it's still there, that unsettled nervousness before an event. Because the pressure's on, and I'm getting paid. And it's, I think it just helps me stay sharp, I've heard that with a lot of performers. They get butterflies before. And it actually took me a long time to be anywhere comfortable shooting, photographing other people. Because being more artistic and nerdy growing up, I'm definitely was more of an introvert, and I probably still am. I've had to force myself to come out of that and be social and to do something like this. Not that this made me nervous. I know that you have your editing skills afterwards.
Yeah,
and after a while, it does become second nature to do what you love to do.
Yeah, I can totally agree with that. Like we were talking about before we got rolling here, I had no idea I was going to end up to do the things I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was nervous for a long time. I think what really helped me was live streaming. It's not like this. There's no editing. So you
Right.
show up and it just flows the way it flows, and then beginning to trust in my medicine, beginning to trust in my gift, understanding that the mind is what's creating these ideas of these things could go wrong. Nothing can go wrong. It's going to end up the way it needs to end up, and that's all there is to it. And
Besides, I mean, people are going to judge no matter what.
that's okay.
Yeah,
I'm going to love them too.
it is. It is. Yeah.
I'm going to love them too. So the photography, and I recommend anyone. Where can people find you that want to experience your photography? Do you still have that email going with the healing email?
I do.
Oh, so I'm sure there's
That's a
people.
sign
that want
up
to see that.
thing. I mean, my email, kurt@kurtshaffer.com. But Instagram is a good way to see my latest, greatest work on a fairly regular basis. I'm also on Facebook. Both of those under Kurt Shaffer Photographs, as opposed to photography, which most photographers like to label their business. It was a way to kind of separate me from the norm, because I take photographs, I sell photographs. I'm a photographer, but and I guess I do photography.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I just like the way it sounds, Kurt Shaffer Photographs, and I put my name in there because I debated a long time before deciding what to call myself, my business, and I think it's important to list what you do. Okay, so for photographs or photography is in there. And then it could either be my name or it could be, cloud photographs or cloud photography, or whatever. It could be a mundane name, clever name, but it doesn't, and you can turn it into a brand, and it's been very successful for a lot of people to do that without having their name. But it was a decision I made, and it is what it is, because I think it's important to have my name attached to my work.
Stand behind your product.
Yeah, and I'm proud of my work, and I'm happy to give you I'm honored that you like my work, and I'm going to sign it, because knowing past dead artists, if they never were known by their name or signed their work,
Nobody'd know them.
Mm-hmm.
their work would be diminished and less valuable. So it is an investment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Ansel Adams, he's there's a lot of famous photographers out there that made their name
Mm-hmm.
connected to their work, and a lot of them you can look at that image without knowing the name, and you could say, oh, that looks like so and so.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So this question just came through. I'm not a photographer, and I don't know much about photography equipment. But something asked me, for those who are photographers, what would be your favorite equipment? What's your favorite things to shoot with?
I got that same message coming
Yeah,
through.
yeah, I felt it.
Yeah, what
Yeah,
camera do you use?
yeah. I don't know anything about those things, but what would you say?
Full frame, DSLR.
Well, I use a Nikon D850. It's a full frame DSLR. It's kind of heavy.
I've seen it.
The new technology. Well, the lens can
the
be
one lens, yeah.
heavier or lighter depending on your focal length, but there's obviously new technology out there,
The
mirrorless, which are amazing. They're a little bit lighter and definitely faster. There's some good things about it. I would say whatever you end up with, whatever you start with, because I tell people, even with your cell phones, it's not so much the tool as it is the user, the eye.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because I don't know that true composition can be taught and learned as much as it is normal or natural to somebody.
Yeah, it's almost like thinking like a bigger speaker won't make you a better singer.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's the eye. It's the perception of picking things up.
Yeah, and I know I have photographer friends that are geeks with the latest greatest technologies and everything, and I don't pay too much attention to that. I'm happy with what I have,
Yeah.
and it serves me perfectly. when it comes time to
Change, you will.
I will, and I'll make a decision then. I mean, I'll likely stay with Nikon since lenses are good for life, but the bodies change. I mean, back in the film days, your film changed. Your bodies stayed good for decades, the camera body. But so it can be a real expensive trap photography. And so, and I
D8000
yeah.
Nikon as well.
Yeah, I've gone with third-party lenses like Tamron that fits Nikon, Canon, all the popular brands, and they're less expensive. A lot of them are excellent, and maybe even the technology today, they're just as good as the name, the Nikon brand. But no, right now, you're invest in glass. That is more important than the actual body, the sensor. You can still make a good print from, like I said, a cell phone camera these days. Your iPhone 14 takes amazing photographs.
Yeah, cell phone cameras are so advanced. Yeah,
I mean, and that's fine. At first, maybe I was going, "Are you kidding me? Everybody's a photographer now." And some of my gigs, I saw people, and realtors taking their house pictures with their iPhone, and it's like, okay, well, maybe I should learn another skill. But no, there's room for everybody, and pretty soon you realize that, okay, yeah, I tried doing it myself for a while, or hire, my brother or cousin, and it just, sometimes you just really need a professional if you want professional results. So.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. So the next question that's coming through is about astrology.
Yes.
Yeah. How did that start? How did you get it? Because you mentioned it was early on, and you had a psychic reading, an astrological reading.
Yeah.
And that brought you in, as you said, into astrology, and you wanted to learn more because you want to learn more about you. How did that evolve? How did that develop for you? Because I've had the pleasure of you doing some reading for me, bringing some in, and I've really enjoyed it and want more. Yeah.
You will get more.
Good.
It's just, like I said, yeah, it was a good tool to know myself, and I wanted to be able to do it myself. It's just something that I thought would be cool to know for myself. Not so much to become an astrologer and do that as a gig, but I found that learning astrology is one of the best ways to also learn, not only with teachers and books, but to actually do readings for people. So I do that. It's a word of mouth still. I'm primarily photographer.
Well, it's word of mouth until now.
So yeah, no, it's I love blowing people's minds with astrology, and it often does. Forecasting is always a dicey thing because you're foretelling the future. I've been pretty successful at it. It's takes into account a lot of things. I'm still learning. I don't know that.
Yeah, it never ends.
It ever ends, especially astrology. And I started out learning normal Western astrology, which is called tropical. Okay, it's calendar based, and it's good enough that would keep me learning. I say good enough. Many people still won't budge from it, but there is another system, and half of the world uses it. It's called sidereal. Indian astrologers, their astrology system is called Vedic, and they use a whole different chart. They use a rectangular chart, and they don't recognize still the outer planets of Uranus, Neptune, or Pluto, and they emphasize what's called the North Node and the South Node. They're points, not planets or physical objects, but they're points on the ecliptic based on the moon's orbit around the Earth, with the Earth. And it took me a while. I had a Vedic reading when I was in the middle of my major learning of tropical astrology, and it was awesome. The difference is that sidereal astrology is based on where the planets are right here, right now, today. The calendar was invented some, thousands of years ago, and
and it's imperfect.
Well, it's a fixed paper product, okay?
Right.
I mean, just the fact that they rounded off the day of the Earth's orbit around the sun. They rounded it up 4 minutes to 24-hour even 24 hours. You can look it up. It's 23
so it's really 23:56?
56, yep. And over these thousands of years since the calendar was created, that drift in between the two things is 24 degrees, which is over 2/3 of any one given sign of 30 degrees. And so it's, like I said, it was always good enough to keep my interest, the Western astrology, tropical, because when I realized, okay, I'm a Gemini according to the calendar, and Sun. And with sidereal, I have Mars and Venus in Gemini. Okay, they're different. Sidereally, I'm a Taurus, Sun. Whereas with the tropical astrology, I was Taurus rising. So either way, it did make sense, but it really wasn't pinpointed to who I was. I mean, our Sun represents, like, I'm a photographer. I'm also a gardener. Those are my two major, and I'm interested in better food, not cheaper food. In myself, in a lot of Taurus things, which are finer things in life. Taurus likes good food and quality stuff.
Gotta take a break real quick.
I think we're going to take a break. Break. Yeah, gardening. I definitely want to talk about that. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, that's an involved subject. I'm trying to keep it as concise and quick as possible.
Yeah, very involved. I know somebody who does the Vedic charts.
Yeah.
I mean, the mass size of the chart.
So yeah, it's an evolving difference, and I'll try to wrap it up quick.
You don't got to. You don't got to. Set?
Yep.
Wave at the camera. And we're back. Kurt, I don't remember where we were at. Do you?
Astrology and gardening.
Yeah.
I was talking about astrology and how I've changed, how I was taught by two separate teachers, tropical Western astrology,
Mm-hmm.
and how it always made enough sense to me, even though this is crazy. When I booked my first astrological reading, I was told I needed my birth time. Okay, I knew nothing about astrology, so it wasn't easy to find. I ended up contacting the hospital I was born at in Buffalo, New York, at the time, and they said, "Sure, we've got it on, microfiche." That's this like archaic form of keeping things and
Record keeping.
Record keeping. Yeah, thank you. And send us $20, and we'll send you your birth time. I think the person that answered the phone pocketed the $20 and just wrote down a random birth date and time. I swear to God, because it wasn't till 10 years, and actually that chart, that was a wrong birth time they gave me. That chart, I trusted for 10 years. My astrologer turned friend always kind of thought it was the wrong birth time. And it's interesting how I came about my real birth time. In a nutshell, I was carjacked and I had my wallet stolen and my Social Security, my driver's license, everything was in there and gone. Fortunately, I lived through it, but it was transformative time. It was a real literal knock on the head.
That's why it showed up, right?
That's why it showed up. Life-changing in more than one way. And so in the process of getting my license back, I needed a notarized copy of my birth certificate. And I had to go to, I got one from City Hall in Buffalo, New York, where I was born. I had to go there, not the hospital. So when I got that, I got my license back, blah, 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 everything. And I'm filing my birth certificate into my file drawer. And it wasn't until that time where it could still be and not noticed was a birth time. Mm-hmm. It was like 12 hours off of what I was using.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That big of a difference.
Yeah, that's huge.
And I told my astrologer friend, yeah, I always knew that was a wrong birth time. So that was a new me. It was literally a new me in so many ways.
Rebirth.
So many more things made so much more sense. Okay, so jump ahead.
Let me just jump back there for a second.
Yeah.
When you said, I lived through it. No, you didn't. You were reborn that day. So my ability to see through quantum space, I'm aware that happens to all of us. We have many lives with this Social Security number. The things we think we survived, knocks on the head, muggings, drug overdoses, all kinds of things happen to us, illnesses, all kinds of things. Right. Those are all things are part of our evolution, just how you're recognizing. That old version of you, that it still exists. It's still there. It's just in a different quantum space because time is illusory. And then so just like all of us, all three of us sitting here, I'm aware because I've seen our other lives and other deaths. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's not what happened, Kurt. You were transferred that day into a new being.
I stand corrected. And agree.
We were just talking about that before we started the podcast. My wife has this headshot from like a corporate headshot that she has on her LinkedIn or whatever. And, like, she looks like a completely different person.
Yeah, it popped up on my Facebook. I'm like, who is that? And I'm like, because I'm looking not just at the face, but the energy field that's surrounding the face. And I was like, wow, that's so funny because I don't recognize her at all. Mm-hmm. And I look over across the Kava bar, and there she is. I'm like, Yeah, you're gone. No,
Time
whole
for an
new version.
update.
Yeah, upgrades.
Yeah.
Upgrades. Yeah.
Be happy to do that for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, so my life changed again. The new me changed again when a friend of a friend who's a sidereal astrological teacher convinced me, and really I convinced myself when she provided the facts, and I now see that how tropical Western astrology is really like 60 to 70% accurate, and that's enough. It's over 50 for most people to keep interested, as it was for me. But you put the two charts next to each other, and they look the same. I mean, I'm not talking the square Vedic. I run circular. It looks just like your normal chart you're used to. But the houses, the signs, the signs may change. The degrees of everything go back 24 degrees. So, yeah, I'm a Libra moon either way, because I was born with a 26-degree tropical moon in Libra, and sidereal only backs it up 24. So but I'm early. That really doesn't matter. It's still in the 6th house. It's still making the trines and the sextiles and the squares and oppositions that it makes. The two charts look at first glance exactly the same, but here's where the real importance comes in. The real difference is the house rulerships. Now, house rulerships, you may have your moon. My moon is in the 6th house, but there's two other houses that it influences. The 4th house, which is the natural ruler domain of the moon. That's never going to change in any chart. The 4th house is always related to the moon. The next house that's going to be influential when you're looking at the moon is the house that has the sign Cancer on its cusp. And based on your time of birth, that could be any of those 12 houses where you have Cancer. Could be your rising sign, could be on the 1st house. So the 1st house has Cancer. You got to look at that. So we take into account the 1st, 4th, and 6th house when we're talking about somebody's moon with a Cancer rising. So that really puts all the pieces to the puzzle where they should be. And for me, I had to prove it to myself. And I ask anyone out there that is really firm and knowing and loving that they're a Leo. I'm sorry, you chances are you're really a Cancer. But you have Leo somewhere, because you've embraced the Leo attributes of looking good and being on stage and being proud, and fire. The sun rules Leo. I mean, that's the best place for the sun is in its own sign, and there's a lot of fun things with Leo. And to learn that you might be a Cancer, that's like a wah wah.
I'm a Cancer.
A shift. Yeah.
So, I'm not happy about all my planets changing signs.
Right.
But it's who I am, and
now
that's the purpose of astrology. But now, there's always a danger to these things too. It's a tool. I've seen people not be able to start their day without knowing, where the moon is, where the sun is, where everything is, and
that's the ego mind trying to control an outcome.
Yeah, and it's a tool, but our ultimate tool for existence and survival is right here, our pineal gland, and our own heart and our own gut.
Yeah, in our tradition, we're trained to use 5 eyes. We have 5 eyes in our body. Technically, there's 12, but there's 5 that we focus on. And they're also, like, eyes is one word. Another idea is brains. We have many other brains. And that's how shamans, that's how we connect into the living space around us.
And once you've connected to that, we don't need astrology.
Right.
I think it was a tool for my growth. And
It is.
And I still love it. I still...
It definitely has value. I believe it definitely has value.
Well, when people are just in a funk, or all these negative things are happening to them, whether it's sickness, death, I got fired, whatever.
They're looking for the sign.
When's this going to end? And actually, astrology can give us that light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
It can tell you.
Or at least implant a possibility.
Right.
Which is amazing.
Right.
That's
We just
great.
got to be patient and wait for Pluto to move on. But these things are here for our growth. We need to start making lemonade out of these lemons we're given, and that's part of the process.
Opportunities.
Yeah. I mean, because every negative has something of value in it.
Yeah.
Extract the nectar.
Yeah.
Be the hummingbird.
With every negative
Working today.
perceived negative thing, there's something positive within.
Right?
Yeah.
I love it. Sometimes I still slip back, and as we all do.
We have to. That's how we learn. It's perfect. There's nothing wrong. It's just right.
Right.
Gardening. I like to garden too. I have some raised bed gardens going on.
Oh, yeah.
You've been some inspiration of that to me, no doubt about it. Coming over to your lovely home that feels like Harry Potter's house in the village. It's this lovely brick home, and within it there's all this beautiful art and furniture and things. And you walk in there and you just feel the living energy of this place. I love going there. It's like, I can't wait to get you over there, Dave. We'll go over there, and there's a new table. Yeah. When I walked in, a new reality had emerged, and this table that's been there, what felt like forever, was gone. It was taken apart, disassembled against the wall, and this new table showed up, and it looks perfect for seances.
Awesome.
So I think that's going to be a lot of fun with everything going on there. But yeah, so I think it's really unique how around your home, that's where you're growing all of your stuff. You're growing all kinds of different vegetables and things. What kind of stuff are you got growing in your yard, Kurt?
Well, everything from beauty to function. And flowers to make us happy, and to provide opportunities for my photography.
Yeah.
I can make money, in my underwear. Literally photographing, a bloom in my house. And for functionality, food. I am a firm believer in organic farming and growing your own. And if you don't have a green thumb, find somebody that does. We prefer shopping at farmers markets because not only are they fresh and local, they're just it just makes more sense than eating something that was shipped all the way from California or further.
And you're supporting your local economy, your local farmer, all those things.
Totally. And you're learning from them. No, farming isn't for everybody, but neither is photography, and I'm grateful for that.
Well, farming should be for everyone because we all got to eat. Not everyone has to take photographs, but everyone needs to eat.
I know. And if we could only focus on, community gardens, not just the farmers market, but there's a lot of community urban farms where, you can learn or just go and buy from. But these are the answer to world hunger, not these huge, mega, big agriculture monocrops that are really, literally destroying the earth and our health because they farm the nutrients out of the land. The energy isn't in them, and that's important. It's like whether you're vegetarian or a carnivore, the way your food is produced not only is physical with minerals and vitamins, but it's energetic. because we are energetic.
Compressed sunshine.
The earth is energetic. We are one with this earth through an electrical field called the Schumann resonance. We
7.83 hertz.
thank you.
The mycelium.
And food and animals, vegetables and animals and fruits all vibrate to this too. There's no you can't argue with that. And to know that your steak was from a happy cow grazing on its own natural food, free to roam, and humanely killed and butchered is far more better for us on all levels than something produced in a confined animal feeding operation where they are fed their far from natural diet, abused, confined, and sad.
Pumped full of drugs.
My heart goes out to so much of this life on Earth that is abused. We're learning.
Yeah. It starts from within us. There are change. It starts with you growing food. It starts with me growing food. Maybe we can, through this podcast, maybe we'll motivate someone else to begin to, instead of grow a lawn, maybe grow some food. I want to see everyone turn their yard into a food forest. Imagine that. Nobody would be hungry.
Yes.
But we also would no longer be independent. Would no longer be dependent.
Right.
We wouldn't need so much exteriorly. So.
Right. Right.
So we're going to change that. That's what we're working to do. That's what Moshi's all about.
We are changing it, and I'm so thrilled to be a part of it.
It's so good. It's fantastic. I love gardening. And I also love, often I'll come to your house and you'll have cuttings for me. You'll be like, here you go. Take this with you. I'm like, well, okay, thanks. And I'll cultivate and grow it. And it's fantastic.
But back to your, I rounded off what we're growing as vegetables, but we do a lot of tomatoes and peppers, those kinds of things, carrots. Don't have a huge garden, but we make good use of what space we do have. We have a lot of salad, and I call that everything from romaine lettuce to Swiss chard to arugula and peas and herbs, cilantro and oregano and parsley and all those good things, because those are amazing nutrients for all of us, especially. I mean, I just really realized that oregano is a good source of quercetin.
It is.
Which is a real vital component that not too many people know about. And, with this whole COVID thing, quercetin is playing a big role. It's actually part of the hydroxychloroquine that, the narrative didn't want you to take. Because why?
This is an equine medicine.
It might work. Well, that's ivermectin.
That's ivermectin.
Yeah.
Same thing, though.
That's a soil microbe.
Yes. Yeah. And that's been legal and used for generations now. And maybe not generations. Long time. But not as profitable for big business.
No. You can get it for $10 at the farm store up the street.
I know. I know. It's good to cleanse all parasites, and people don't really know that they may have parasites. We pick them up from a lot of different sources.
And we happen to have a biology or a biome that is effective for their life.
Yes.
Our foods and everything, they create a perfect environment for these things to thrive.
Right.
Earth gives us everything we need to heal ourselves.
It's here, right? Yep. We just have to keep going into that and spreading that word.
Synthesize it.
No doubt about it. Gardening's the way to go. I love to garden. That's good. I'm always glad to come over and check out your gardens and check out your cool flowers and all kinds of things. It's very interesting to me. Very wonderful.
Oh, you need to come over soon, both of you. We have a night blooming jasmine. That's I've had for years, and it went through this, as some of my these plants do. They lose all their leaves, and it's like, oh man, I don't want to lose you, but let's try repotting you and giving a severe cut. And I think it's got more blooms on it or buds right now than it's ever had in its little life. And if you've ever smelled a white jasmine flower, they're only about that big, and they have the most intense, most heavenly fragrance I've ever smelled. Jasmine.
Heavenly
Yeah,
fragrance.
it makes wonderful tea.
Yes. So that is just exploding right now. And it just makes me happy. And it's one of the house plants we keep in the house. Some of my house plants go out for the summer and then come back in because they're tropical. But we keep this in the living room, and we'll come down in the morning, and it just fills the whole room with this fragrance. It's just so special. We're so lucky to live on this planet.
Yeah, totally.
This Earth.
Yeah, it's heaven.
Full of beauty.
It's so beautiful.
It's heaven right here. I mean, hell's here too. You can find it.
Through your perception, sure.
Yeah, it's just a state of mind.
Yeah.
Frequency of consciousness.
Yeah, which you can change your frequency of consciousness by something we were talking about earlier, psychedelics. Psychedelics. Talk to us about psychedelics, Kurt. Talk about what's your viewpoint? What do you got to say? What would you say if I was like, Kurt, tell me about psychedelics and your viewpoints of psychedelics?
Well, they are another tool, I think, to consciousness, to enlightenment, to whatever those words mean for anybody, to extrasensory perception. It's been proven that the CIA used to do experiments on people, and it's been well researched. It's not for everybody, I don't think.
Nothing is, right?
Or maybe it's that they need to start on smaller doses. Or larger. I don't know. There might be people
I think
out
it needs
there.
to call to you. If it doesn't call to you, it's not something for you.
Yeah, it's
And
the key to unlock the door, too. I mean, once you unlock that door, it can be nurtured and grown, and you don't need the psychedelics anymore.
Yeah, I've known people who probably did too much for the first time, and that was a bad experience, and they're afraid of it anymore.
Well, they're calling it bad because they didn't do it in the right capacities. So if you're not doing it with someone who can help you or know or anything like that, that's what we call these things bad trips.
Right.
I got to tell you, the ones that people call bad trips or with the things maybe I would have called bad trips are the best trips I've ever had because they were the most productive. But I was open to receive it that way. Didn't sit there like, oh, that was a bad experience. I never want to show my. I look at it and like, oh, that gave me something.
Well, you were still in control of your thinking at the time. You didn't totally lose it.
Oh, I have. At the time. Right. And I see now that was okay. Right?
You extracted the nectar.
That's the important part, is not to victimize, let the mind victimize. Like, oh, this bad thing happened to me when I took these things. Is something bad happened to you, or did it show you something about yourself you weren't ready to see?
Well, I'm still learning and growing, obviously, as I'm repeating myself. But in this realm of psychedelics, there's still psychedelics I haven't tried yet that I'm very interested in.
Yeah, there's stuff we don't even know about yet.
So my experience has been mostly with LSD and psilocybin. I did MDMA. That was actually the first drug I ever did.
MDMA?
I did that before I smoked cannabis.
Wow.
Well, I had a thing about smoking, growing up. My mom smoked. My dad did too, but he quit before I was born. And I hated with passion her smoking, the smell of it, everything about tobacco. Hated it. So therefore, I was not very cool in high school. I refused to actually at one point my friend, he invited me to hang out with his friends, but I had to have a cigarette. He just hold it. Literally, I'm not kidding you. It was that important that I smoke to be cool. It's the stupidest thing I ever did in my life. Although I have learned, through experience in smoking the right tobacco, like ceremonial, native tobacco, real pure, just organic, not a Marlboro. That it has its good qualities, definitely. But so smoking cannabis was still in the realm of, well, I might be allergic to smoke, but I was attracted to those friends in high school that were termed with stoners. My dad wanted me to be a jock, but it was good. It was a good experience. Playing football and baseball, that kind of thing, basketball. I wasn't that coordinated, but it gave me strength, and it taught me a lot of coordination. But in high school, it was like I had some jock friends and some stoner friends, but I really related to the stoner friends more. And they'd smoke. When I was tall. I looked maybe older than I was, so I was the guy that could procure alcohol without, I could go in and confidently ask for, buy a 6-pack of beer and not be asked for my ID, and then they would smoke. But it was a girl that I was interested in that got me to smoke cannabis. But previously, my one friend gave me some MDMA, and I said, what the hell? It's not smoking. And that was great. But no, right after high school, I went in the Navy because I didn't want to go to school anymore, or college. My parents were willing to send me to college. The one thing my dad didn't want me to do was stay home. After I got out of high school, get a job and get an apartment, go in the service, go to college. That was basically the three options I thought I had. So I thought I want to travel. It was 1975. It was after the Vietnam War. It was peacetime, and I got my choice of where I wanted to do my thing. I chose San Diego because my family's from California. And I quickly learned that more people in the Navy got high than didn't. That was my experience. And that's where I got. And then they sent me to Hawaii for 2 years, where I really got spoiled on fine cannabis.
Yeah, the Maui Wowie.
Oh, Kona Gold.
Yeah,
Kauai Electra, some of the original strains. And so, and oh my God.
That had to be a drag coming back from there, like to Ohio. Hey, where's the good weed at?
Well, there was that. But overall, I was used to the four seasons of the Midwest. I'd spent 11 years in Illinois before moving here in Ohio, Cleveland in 1980 or 75. But I was in the Navy right away on the West Coast and stuff. But it was quickly spreading good cannabis here and there. But I realized it wasn't that consistent and what I liked. So that was primarily my impetus to grow my own. And I've been growing my own mostly since the 80s because I can grow what I like. And it's consistent, and I know its purity and strain, and
it's grown with love.
That
That's
too.
the important thing.
With love, cultivated with love, a cultivar of love.
But
What is your? So you said that most of your experiences with psilocybin and LSD. If you had to pick one, which one do you like better? Psilocybin or LSD?
Good question. It depends on the situation. I mean, Anthony, you can't. I would have the same hesitation in telling you my favorite color.
What's your favorite color?
Depends on my mood.
What's your favorite color?
All of them.
Yeah.
I mean,
Rainbow.
Yeah. How about you? What would you say? I already know your answer. I already know LSD is your answer over psilocybin. Mine too. I would say LSD would be, I would say, is a higher quality of medicine, the way it works. The thing that usually stops me is the investment of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I got to have like 12 hours or so. And usually I feel my LSD trips are more intense.
Yeah.
They're more intense than my psilocybin trips. So.
They are.
Far more healing. That's what really changed my life and healed my brain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have had better psychedelic experiences, for lack of a better word, conscious experiences on LSD. Yeah.
My greatest psychedelic experiences have happened through my breath. They are far beyond any exogenous compound I've taken. Even smoking DMT. It's gone beyond that. I have those, and that's regular. That's a regular thing for me, but the duration's quick. But I can spend 100 years in a different realm in minutes. Like, we're capable of doing that because time's illusory here. So when we get out of this range of consciousness, I've spent long periods of time other places just using my lungs and my intention.
That's very cool.
It's very cool.
Yeah, I want to learn to do that more.
Practice. I can't tell you it's anything other than practice. I haven't missed a day. I breathe every day, multiple times a day, and it's almost 5 years now. So every day, I have clients every day I breathe with. I have a live stream I do Tuesdays and Thursdays. I do that. I have the events we do out in public. I'm always breathing, and that doesn't even count my personal
so lucky
thing.
Your job and makes you.
Isn't that so cool? I was saying that this morning. I can't believe this is my job. This is my life. I'm a breath shaman.
every time you do that, you improve yourself. It's like,
yeah,
that is awesome.
And I connect. I open up and connect. That's definitely been, for me, the biggest tool that I have. It goes far beyond anything else that's happened in my reality, is connecting consistently to my breath. The thing that still blows my mind is the resistance people have to it. I can teach people about it. They know exactly what's happening and what it is, but they won't commit.
I know.
They won't do it every day. I don't know why.
Dude, I admit, I'm one of those. I was one of those. I mean, I'm still not there with, sitting down and doing that practice every day, even though it can only take as little as 10 or 20 minutes to have
or less,
such great effects. I do.
It's cumulative too. The more you do it, the better it works. It's a neurological growth.
It's just like push-ups, doing exercise.
Exactly.
It's just forming a new habit that improves yourself. And
the key is going into the resistance. Why am I resisting this? There's a resistance that happens inside of us. And that's the thing this mind doesn't really know, because this mind only knows its past. So it's only looking at these past things, and then it'll give up trying to find. It's finding out spiritually what decision, what is in my way, what blockage is happening that I won't show up to breathe. Is it that I don't want to change? That's usually where it comes down to. Because I have thousands of clients now that I worked with across the world, and that's a common theme that shows up. Like some people, they hit the ground running and they breathe and they never stop. Some people, they get started, they start feeling so good that they forget to stick with their practice, and then they come back and say, Anthony, I was doing so good, now it's not this, and that's this and that. And my first question always is, and this pumps the brakes for everyone, is, how's your practice?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be just breathing. That's just a foundational thing, right? But if you're not willing to show up to breathe for 7 to 10 minutes a day, do you want to change? Or are you happy the way it is? Do you want to improve, or are you happy the way it is? That's where it starts. I'm always driven to improve. I want to improve my flow of energy and light, because I know it's not just about me. If I can improve my flow, this improves the collective consciousness flow.
Well, and you've chosen that's who you are. You're setting an example. If anyone is going to follow anybody, they need to be an example. It's like, you're going to really take advice from an overweight nutritionist?
Yeah. I'm going to take advice from a guy that had terminal lung disease and shows me how to breathe. That's probably what I want to hear from.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I always catch myself when I'm not breathing, or I'm shallow breathing. And sometimes that's conscious.
Right.
Depending on where I am. If I'm, in noxious air, for a variety of reasons, I will,
like the smoke storm we had up here.
Or you're walking on the street and, there's all these smokers out in front of the bar, I'm going to hold my breath or breathe very shallow. But, no, I catch myself and I'll expand my lungs and stomach and do that.
Good. I like that. I have this question that came through. I had this vision. Did you ever hear of Tales from the Trip? That's what it's called. It's where people come on and they usually have they'll tell about a story about like a very intense trip or something they've had, and then they usually create a cartoon with it. So do you have anything that stands out to you? Do you have any story to you that would stand out to you as like one of the most intense psychedelic experiences you've ever had? Because I know mine right away. Mine right away pops up as the time I ate 3 hits of acid and I could feel every possible human emotion at once. So I felt like I could feel, like it felt all out here. I could feel the deepest pain and sorrow and fear and the highest level of elation and just pure love all at once.
That's profound.
That was so hard.
I can't.
I've been there too.
Yeah.
It's been a long time, I'll have to say, since I've done a full,
like a macro dose?
A dose, yeah.
Or a heroic dose?
Right, of anything.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, back in my 20s and 30s, I was tripping balls all the time. And it was actually more for recreation.
Right.
At that point.
Good time.
Or to just have a better experience in nature.
Mm-hmm.
It was either at a party or nature. On occasion, it would be just me and my friend. But I would trip anywhere. When I was in the Navy, I tripped on the ship, took a hit, and it was amazing. Just being out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean is a trip on its own. But to see that many stars at night, wow. To see a sunrise or sunset, or you're near a typhoon, which is a hurricane, but in the Pacific, where I was, and holding on for your dear life in waves you can't even comprehend being surrounded by, is all different experiences. I've been with a friend who freaked out, and I had to drive on one of the biggest single doses of LSD I've ever experienced. It was on a sugar cube, and he had to go. He had to leave. He couldn't stay. There was police everywhere out front. Of course, there wasn't one. But I drove him home, and the only way I could maintain my operational function is just paying attention to the speedometer, because I could not tell how fast we were going otherwise. Mm-hmm. I don't know. So it's been decades, really, since I even started microdosing again. And I don't know. I never really felt like I needed a macro dose again. Mm-hmm. But maybe I will.
Time to blow out the cobwebs.
Mm-hmm.
It might be.
I think it's good to blow out the cobwebs. I don't think it's good to macro consistently over and over. I do see a lot of value of taking periods of time and using micros, and then also with the micro using other supplements to improve blood flow into the brain. Mm-hmm. I've seen great and vast benefits from those things. But yeah, definitely every so often I like to floor it. I like to blow out the cobwebs, because what it can do is it can raise you into frequency that you haven't felt before. This is how I use the psychedelic. So if I use the macro, it opens up my neurology into a new frequency and awareness. Mm-hmm. And then what I do after that is I integrate that. I remember, I can have a memory of that frequency, and then I can start to tune myself to connect with it. And then new kinds of patterns begin to evolve in the thinking. And then you just kind of go along with that for a while. You let that happen. But that's the important part, and what we talk about a lot is integration. Integration is the most important part of psychedelic treatments, because otherwise you just end up on that cycle. Like, I know lots of people like that use psychedelics repeatedly. They take the dose, they feel real good, it opens up a bunch of energetic windows, neurology starts to expand, but they're not feeding it. They don't do the things to feel. They're not going out into nature. They're not connecting to their spirit. They're not breathing. Whatever it is, yoga, whatever it is, connecting into the neurology of the body, and then it starts to atrophy and come back. And then along with that then comes despair, fear, and pain. And they're like, oh, I need another dose. I need to go on. I know people that have had 70 plus ayahuasca journeys.
What?
How many do you need? You know what I mean? Like,
Dang.
ayahuasca is one of those things, like once, maybe twice. If you need to do that more than twice in your lifetime, you're not integrating. That's not what's happening. That's what's
any
happening.
of the work.
Right. It's not going to just magically happen, and that's what, that's kind of society. Dave always calls it the magic bullet. People are looking for that. I'm going to take that psilocybin, and that's it. I don't have to do anything else. No. This is opening you to a new potential of a new way of being, is what it is. But we have to practice. It's like exercise. We have to exercise that.
It's like being on a trampoline. You jump up and you see the grass greener on the other side of the fence, and then you're back down, looking at the fence.
Whatever goes up must come down.
Yep. But it doesn't have to.
No, it doesn't have to. You can continue
Well,
to ride.
vibration is one thing.
Or
one
you
good
can,
example.
And what you want to do is then find yourself into a place where you can create structure with this new energy and connection you have. Like, for instance, we're part of a Pakokuna tradition. What is that really? That's a light technology. That's what it is. We're being taught how to manage light because everything is frequency and light. So this creates a structure. It doesn't mean everyone that's a Paco does the same thing and has the same medicine gift and the same idea and the same thing. It means that we all have a basic structure in which we use as a practice to be able to hang our energy on. Otherwise, it's chaotic.
Just helps organize.
Yeah, it's an organization or a coherence kind of thing that kind of happens. And that's why I love doing what I'm doing. I love being a teacher. I love being able to help people connect to these eyes of energy and initiating people into new versions of being. Because when that happens, even if they aren't aware of it with this psychological mind, energetically a shift happens. And down the road, maybe it's months later, weeks later, I see this happen to people I work with all the time. They don't even know how the change happened. They just know the change happens. And it opens. But I know because I can see the energy.
You have a gift.
No doubt. And I want to help everyone open theirs. I don't care about how powerful I get. I want to see how powerful everyone else can get. That's what I want to see. And then together we create miracles. Well, that's what it all comes down to. Fantastic. I'm going to ask you one last question, and I don't want you to answer it yet, okay? Because then what we're going to do, me and Dave are going to do like the commercials. That's what we'll do while you ponder this question. Kurt, if you had one message that you could deliver to the world, what would it be? I just want you to close your eyes and relax for a minute and just drop into that. And what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about Moshi. We're going to talk about sacred waters and all those things.
Positive pineapple.
Say something about Moshi, Dave. What would you say about Moshi?
Moshi is an amazing organization that we've started. It just continues to grow. We're vibrating together a massive soul family, and eventually it'll become worldwide and create systemic healing. Growing the mycelium. And we got a lot of stuff going on the 29th. Yes.
This may be out before then. On the 29th, we're going to be doing a Moshi Healing Circle. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to get that planned and set up. That's already going. What's going on there?
It's a powerful experience.
Yeah. We do integration meetings here at the Kava Bar every Sunday at 1:30. So show up at 1:30. We usually don't get talking until 2, so if you're not right in time, don't worry. And you can come in at any time. You don't.
Yes.
If you're late, don't be afraid that
leave early.
You're disturbing us or anything. Everything's okay. Just come on in, sit down, and join with us is what we want you to do. These are beautiful things, beautiful ways for us to come together, and that's that systemic healing that David's talking about, because in these meetings, what we can do is we can talk about the things maybe we don't have people in our normal periphery of our life to be able to talk to. Well, we can talk about things like spiritual experiences, metaphysical experiences, things that generally in public you won't talk about because you'll be judged. Here, there is no judgment. We're here to be loving to each other and accepting. Even if not everybody in the room understands what you're saying, I guarantee there's someone in this room that does. And that's the amazing part of it, sharing that space,
there's
sharing
no
our
such
story.
thing as crazy.
Yeah, no, we don't. Like, we love that, actually. Me and Dave love when someone comes up like, well, I got to tell you guys something, but this might sound crazy. And we're just like, nah, it's not going to sound crazy. We're going to accept it however it is and help you through it. So it gives us a space to talk about maybe even psychedelic experiences. There's lots of people with psychedelic experiences, and a lot of the integration is talking about it, and then maybe getting the viewpoint from several other people that have psychedelic experience, right? And that's really, really powerful and important. And then we usually go around the room and David will channel or open up some sort of topic in which to talk about. We just had one it was right around 4th of July, so it was freedom. We talk about freedom. And everybody has a different idea or expression verbally through language what that means. And then so that allows us all to expand and pick up from each other. You take in what resonates with you, and what doesn't, you can leave behind. And that's the beautiful thing. And then it can give you these aha moments like, oh, I never looked at it from that view or angle before. So it's allowing us to be able to open up. And it's through communication, it's through community is where true healing happens. There's lots of, I'm always going to tell you, your biggest healing happens within you, but your best integration happens through community. Okay?
Yes, you don't have to do it alone.
No, you're never alone. You're never alone. And then you can come over here and you can visit Sacred Waters over here in North Olmsted. We got these beautiful neon lights, and I recommend sit down, have a kava, take a couple deep breaths, and just listen to the lights. We were talking about it before we got on. The vibration of these neon lights, just in themselves, are a very healing thing. This place that David has created is a healing vortex. It's a house of healing. And whenever I walk into here, I feel honored, and it feels beautiful to be alive, to come in here into this place, this beautiful house of healing.
People's reality shift as soon as they walk in the door.
Mm-hmm. And then you can come in, you can learn about things. If you don't know much about kava or kratom or blue lotus, you can talk to somebody here and you can hear their stories and accounts. There's always people here that are open to communicate and talk. That's the coolest thing about this place. It's not like any other place. It's not like when you go into the corner bar and you're going to hear about how Bill hates his wife and he's had a terrible day at work and he might go home and kick his dog. It's probably not going to be that way. The discussions that happen here are usually centered around healing, around beautiful experiences, ideas. I love to hear people's beautiful ideas. So many beautiful ideas and inspirations have grown from this place and will continue to. So that's a big recommendation to show up here for that. Also, check out the Positive Pineapple at thepositivepineapple.org. We do all kinds of events and healing. Mary and I are always on that, trying to improve that, push that out. And then also what's happening now is I'm beginning to offer shamanic healing and energy training. So that's going to start within the next couple weeks. I have about 7 classes set up already. I'm going to do 2 a week, but those are going to be repeats, so level 1. And what you'll have to do is you'll have to make sure you get in these classes, because otherwise you won't know what's happening in the next one. Okay, so everything's a prerequisite to the next. These classes are not for people who are just spiritually curious. That's not what these are for. If you're just curious and want to know what this is or anything, that's not for you. These are for people that are moving forward and want to become healing type of people, connecting, healing the self, healing the community, healing nature, connecting to earth. That's what these things are for. So that sounds like something that resonates with you. But these classes are for you. They're for that. What else, Dave? Did I miss anything? What else?
I don't think so.
No?
Kurt, he can answer that question and
Kurt,
give himself some plugs.
Kurt, answer that question and then plug away. Kurt, let me ask the question again. Kurt, if you had one message for the world.
For the world.
From here, this is the platform. This is take it all the pressure away. But imagine that this right here, this is your one shot to send out into the world the most important message that you could give the world. It can be as many words as you want it to be, or as few. What would it be?
Well, it's a tough question, because there's so many things I would love to, share, but. As far as a message to the world. But what came to me was in a little book called The 4 Agreements.
Don Miguel Ruiz.
If everyone read that and abided by those 4 simple agreements, I mean, just not take anything personally. Do your best. Be impeccable in your word. I mean, come on. Imagine.
Don't take anything personal.
Imagine the world we'd be in right now. It'd be just, everybody's offended by something these days, well, we've got an unfortunate society run by a bunch of people that want to steer us in different ways, and there's narratives, there's the media, there's a lot of influences people are guided or misguided by, and we need to do our own research. We need to do step outside of the box. We need to better ourselves, and not just what somebody else says, and that's what we're doing, obviously. But to look at both sides of everything, just be open-minded to the possibility that everything you've been told to up to this point might be a lie.
Could be.
I mean, just...
True story.
So, I hope that answers the question.
It does perfectly.
Perfectly.
Thank you so much, Kurt, for being here on this beautiful, beautiful podcast. I love you so much, and I'm so glad to be here in this reality with you. And
you're going to make me cry now.
I look up to you as a spiritual father to me, and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
I love you.
I love you, man.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
Love, peace, and chicken grease. Breathe and be love.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
This has been the Quantum Shamans presented by Moshe with David and Anthony. We look forward to seeing you next week for more insight into who you are and your place in the universe.